Beyond the spotlight, the day Yumenglong became a memory we can't let go. The day the world lost Yumenglong was not just another day in entertainment history. It was the day millions felt the screen dim, the music hush, and time itself pause. There are moments that carve themselves into the collective memory of humanity, moments when grief transcends borders and languages. That was the day Yumenglong left the world. It felt unreal. For someone whose presence was light itself, gentle, radiant, and pure, his absence became a silence too loud to bear. The cameras that once captured his laughter now stood still. The stages he once graced felt emptier than ever. Yumenglong was more than a celebrity. He was a sentiment wrapped in skin, a melody that lingered even after the song had ended. For years, his fans followed his journey from rising star to household name, not merely because of his talent, but because of the heart that bled through every role, every song, every glance he shared with the world. There was a quiet sincerity about him, something that drew people in, not because he was flawless, but because he was real. His performances carried emotions that felt too true to be scripted. Every tear, every smile, every pause, it was as if he wasn't acting, but living each moment on screen for those who believed in him. When the news broke that Yumenglong had passed, disbelief spread faster than words could catch up. Social media went silent for a moment, then erupted into heartbreak. Thousands of tributes poured in from fans, co-stars, and strangers alike, each message soaked in tears and nostalgia. Videos of his old dramas began to trend again. Scenes that once brought comfort now brought pain. Fans rewatched his performances, not to relive his fame, but to keep his presence alive, to hold on to fragments of a soul that had touched theirs in ways they couldn't fully describe. He had always been the kind of person who didn't chase the noise of fame. Yumenglong existed beyond the spotlight long before his passing. While others sought attention, he sought connection. He often spoke about peace, humility, and gratitude, values that resonated with those who admired him not just as an actor, but as a human being. His smile had that calming magic, the kind that reminded people to slow down and appreciate the simple things. He wasn't loud, he was gentle. He wasn't demanding, he was kind. And it was that quiet grace that made his loss feel so piercing. The entertainment industry felt the void immediately. Co-stars who had shared scenes with him described how easy it was to lose yourself in the world he created. Directors spoke of his discipline, his patience, and his ability to breathe life into even the smallest roles. On set, he was known not for commanding attention, but for creating harmony. He never tried to outshine anyone. He made everyone shine brighter beside him. That was Yumenglong's gift. He didn't just act, he illuminated others. But beyond the cameras, beyond the interviews, there was another side of him. Quiet evenings spent reading, the gentle tunes he wrote alone, the poems he never published. He had a soul that thrived on reflection. Friends often said he was the kind of man who could sit by the window on a rainy day and find poetry in every drop that fell. He was a dreamer, yes, but one with his feet still touching the ground. That duality, his fragility and strength, was what made him unforgettable. As fans mourned, many shared stories of how Yumenglong's roles had changed their lives. Some said his characters gave them hope during dark times. Others said his words healed wounds they didn't even know they had. He wasn't just someone you watched on screen. He was someone who made you feel seen. And that's what separated him from many. He didn't act for fame, he acted for connection. Even in his silence, he spoke volumes. Days after his passing, candlelight vigils were held in cities across Asia. Fans held posters, flowers, and photos of him, some smiling, some crying, all united by grief. They played his songs softly in the background, as if afraid to disturb the tenderness of the moment. The atmosphere felt like a prayer, a collective whisper of thank you to a soul that gave so much beauty to the world. In those moments, one truth became clear. Yumenglong's story didn't end when he left, it transformed. He became not just a man to remember, but a memory to live by. What made his departure so haunting was not just his youth or his brilliance. It was how suddenly the world realized how much he meant. Sometimes we take for granted the people who make our days a little brighter, thinking they'll always be there. But when YUMENGLONG's light went out, it felt as though the constellations themselves had shifted. His absence wasn't just personal, it was universal. People who had never met him wept as though they had lost a friend, because, in a way, they had. Through his art, he had entered their lives, their emotions, their hearts. In the months that followed, tributes continued to pour in. His songs climbed the charts again, not because of hype, but because people needed to hear his voice one more time. His dramas were re-aired on multiple platforms, each scene now holding deeper meaning. Fans began to write letters to him, letters filled with gratitude, longing, and love. Some even started charitable projects in his name, embodying the kindness he had always stood for. It was as if the world had decided that if he could no longer live among us, then they would carry his spirit forward. Artists and directors who had once worked with him began to speak of unfinished dreams, scripts he wanted to bring to life, characters he was preparing to embody, music he was still writing. Each story only deepened the ache. Yet, amidst that pain, there was also pride that he had lived with authenticity, that he had left behind a body of work that continued to inspire. YUMENGLONG's artistry was timeless because it was born from honesty. He didn't need special effects or grand gestures. His eyes alone could tell stories words couldn't capture. Even now, years later, the impact of his passing still echoes. His fan pages remain active, filled with daily tributes. People post his quotes, his laughter, his pictures, and his moments of vulnerability. It's as though his followers have built a digital shrine, a space where his light continues to burn, flickering softly but endlessly. And maybe that's what immortality really looks like. Not eternal fame, but eternal feeling. Not endless applause, but endless love. When you think of YUMENGLONG, you don't just think of an actor. You think of a man who brought warmth to cold hearts, who made silence beautiful, who proved that gentleness could be powerful. His legacy isn't in the awards or the fame. It's in the millions of souls who now carry a piece of him. He didn't just exist in the spotlight, he existed beyond it. In kindness, in empathy, in the quiet strength that stays long after the lights fade. Perhaps the greatest tragedy of all is that we never got to say goodbye properly. But maybe that's how legends leave us, not with a farewell, but with an unfinished echo. And in that echo, we continue to find them over and over again. YUMENGLONG may have become a memory, but he's the kind of memory that refuses to fade. He lives in every replayed scene, every whispered lyric, every tear shed in silence. And when the night feels a little too quiet, it's comforting to believe that somewhere beyond the spotlight, his light still glows, softly, gently, eternally. The world remembers that fateful day with a silence that words still fail to describe. Even now, when his name is mentioned, a wave of emotion sweeps through millions of hearts, a strange mixture of disbelief, nostalgia, and undying love. It was as though time paused to mourn the man whose presence once made every frame glow with life. YUMENGLONG's departure didn't just leave an absence on screen. It left a hollow in the hearts of those who had found a sense of peace, warmth, and sincerity in his artistry. In the days following his death, there was an almost cinematic stillness everywhere. News outlets replayed clips of his final interviews, his calm voice, his gentle smile, the way his eyes lit up when he spoke about art, music, and kindness. Fans clung to those moments, rewinding every frame as though trying to hold him there just a little longer. His words, simple, heartfelt, and unguarded, felt prophetic. "I don't act to be remembered," he once said. "I act because I want people to feel something real." Those words now echo through every tribute, turning from a statement into a promise fulfilled. At candlelight vigils across Shanghai, Beijing, Seoul, and even overseas, thousands gathered holding photos of him. The soft glow of candles flickered against the night sky as fans whispered his name like a prayer. They played his songs, especially When Time Sleeps, the ballad that seemed written for this very moment. Each lyric carried a different weight now. People closed their eyes, listening, tears gliding down their cheeks, and for a brief second, it felt as though Yumenglong was there, watching, smiling quietly just as he always did. The scenes from his dramas became more than entertainment. They became fragments of memory. In The Starry Love, when he gazed at the sky, whispering promises of forever, fans couldn't help but feel that he was speaking to them directly. In All Out of Love, his heartbreak mirrored the grief his admirers now felt. Every role he played carried a new kind of truth. It was almost poetic, the way fiction and reality blurred, turning art into remembrance. He had always given himself completely to his craft, and now that devotion became his immortality. His co-stars spoke fondly about his kindness on set. One recalled how he would quietly bring snacks for the crew, staying behind after long shoots just to help pack equipment. He never treated anyone as lesser, one director said. He believed that everyone had a role to play, just like in life. That's why people loved working with him, not just because he was talented, but because he was pure. There were stories the public never knew, like how he once paid the medical bills of a young fan who had written to him about her illness, or how he used to visit children's hospitals anonymously, playing songs on his guitar to cheer them up. Those close to him revealed how deeply he valued human connection, how he never let fame make him distant. Fame is fleeting, he used to say, but kindness, that's what lasts. And perhaps that is the legacy he left behind, a legacy built not on glory, but on goodness. His music, too, became an emotional bridge. Fans described listening to his voice as both comforting and haunting. The soft, almost fragile tone carried messages of hope, even through sorrow. In his lyrics, there were echoes of longing, acceptance, and peace, as if he had always known he was a traveler passing through, leaving behind melodies for others to follow. When fans shared clips of him, smiling while recording in the studio, they added captions like, "He didn't know this would be the song that keeps us alive." His music, much like his spirit, refused to fade. Months after his passing, the entertainment industry honored him in a memorial concert titled Beyond the Spotlight. Artists from all over Asia performed his songs and reenacted scenes from his most beloved works. When the lights dimmed and a single spotlight fell on an empty stage, a recording of Yumenglong's voice played. "Thank you for believing in me." The audience broke down in tears. It was as if, even from another world, he had reached out one last time to remind everyone that love never truly ends. It only changes form. Even as the world moved forward, Yumenglong remained present in unexpected ways. His posters continued to hang in cafes, his voice echoed in playlists, and his quotes were shared daily across social media. There was one quote that seemed to define him perfectly: "You don't have to be loud to be remembered. You just have to be true." That authenticity became his eternal signature. In the quiet spaces of fans' hearts, Yumenglong still lives. His laughter in behind-the-scenes clips, his shy gestures during interviews, his serene silence during emotional moments. Each of these fragments form a mosaic of remembrance. People often say grief fades with time, but for his admirers it transformed instead. The pain softened into gratitude. The sorrow evolved into celebration. They began to see his life not as something lost, but as something beautifully lived. Every year, on the anniversary of his passing, fans across the world light candles and post messages that read, "Still shining beyond the spotlight." They gather to watch his dramas, sing his songs, and share how his work changed them. A mother once wrote that her son, who struggled with depression, found comfort watching Yumenglong's gentle roles, that his warmth through the screen gave him hope. That's the power of true artistry. It transcends distance. It heals through empathy. And maybe that's the most profound thing about Yumenglong's legacy. His story reminds the world that life is not measured by its length, but by its light. Though his journey ended sooner than anyone expected, his essence remains woven into the hearts he touched. He taught the world that gentleness is not weakness, that kindness is a form of strength, and that love, quiet, consistent, and sincere, is the greatest form of art. Now, when the world looks up at the night sky, somewhere among the countless stars, one shines a little softer, a little warmer, as if whispering his name. Yumenglong is no longer just a figure in the spotlight. He is the light itself, scattered, infinite, and unforgettable. His story will continue to be told not through headlines or awards, but through every person who carries his memory, every act of kindness done in his name, every tear shed while watching his final scene, every smile that returns when his song plays. Yumenglong became more than an artist. He became a feeling, a reflection of what it means to love deeply, live humbly, and leave beautifully. The day he became a memory, the world changed quietly. But somewhere deep within that change, we found something eternal. Proof that love, art, and spirit can never truly die. Yumenglong may have stepped beyond the spotlight, but his light still leads the way. Forever remembered, forever missed, forever loved.